Happy to be of service as ever. Welcome to part 2 of Britain's first railway murder. So, the police had shown John Death Muller's photograph, and he'd confirmed that that was the guy that he'd reported to them about. For Scotland Yard, that was enough for them to apply for an arrest warrant, and one was duly issued. But alas, Franz Muller had already left the country. On the 15th of July 1864, Muller had boarded the steamship Victoria, which was bound for New York. Undeterred by this, Inspector Tanner went to his superiors at Scotland Yard and obtained permission to travel to New York in an attempt to continue the pursuit of Muller. Senior officers at Scotland Yard had little hesitation in granting Tanner's request, and on the 20th of July 1864, Inspector Tanner, along with Inspector Keresy, Detective Sergeant George Clark, and Jonathan Matthews and John Death, boarded the SS City of Manchester, which left from Liverpool, headed across the Atlantic. The old saying goes that fortune favours the brave, and in this instance it certainly did favour Inspector Tanner. This pursuit was taking place right in the middle of the American Civil War, and opinion was deeply divided as to whether Inspector Tanner would actually manage to extradite Muller successfully from the United States. Unbelievably, the City of Manchester managed to beat the steamship Victoria across the Atlantic by 3 weeks. Those 3 weeks head start were very useful for Tanner. Not only did they allow him to contact Scotland Yard and receive further guidance and yield Scotland Yard's international connections, they also allowed him time to navigate the American legal system despite the chaos of the Civil War. And when the SS Victoria finally docked in New York, the police were waiting for Muller. Now, popular legend says that Inspector Tanner was the one that made the arrest of Muller. That's not actually true. Detective Sergeant George Clark boarded the SS Victoria in New York Harbour and arranged with the crew for a quarantine check to be carried out on the passengers. Once Muller had presented himself to the crew, Detective Sergeant Clark made the arrest. They then went and searched Muller's cabin, where they found a gold watch chain belonging to Thomas Briggs, and also his silk top hat. German advocacy groups in America had funded the defence of Franz Muller and had tried to resist the extradition order, but it was no good. Inspector Tanner and his colleagues set sail for England as soon as they could, and on the 1st of September they arrived in a crowded Liverpool dock aboard the SS Etna. Public interest in this case was massive. It's all anyone was talking about, but it happened against a backdrop of anti-German sentiment, and some people were worried that Franz Muller would not get a fair trial. Despite of all these worries, he went on trial at London's Old Bailey on the 27th of October 1864.